One author sent a single email to a podcast host. 30 days later, she'd generated $10,000 in book sales from that one interview. Not from a bestseller launch campaign, not from a massive ad spend, from one 60-minute conversation that reached the exact readers who were already primed to buy what she wrote. Here's what the data shows. Podcasts have replaced traditional book tours as the primary speaking platform for authors. But 90% of author pitches get ignored because they're approaching it completely wrong. The podcast landscape has fundamentally changed author marketing. There are over 5 million active podcasts right now, and thousands of them are actively looking for author guests every single week. But there's a massive gap between authors who treat podcast guesting as just another marketing checkbox and those who approach it strategically. The difference isn't talent or luck. It's understanding 3 core elements: how to find and target the right podcasts, how to craft pitches that actually get responses, and how to convert those interview opportunities into long-term reader relationships. By the end of this video, you'll have a clear roadmap for all 3. And if you find this analysis helpful, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. We analyze what actually works in publishing every single week. The podcast landscape has fundamentally transformed how authors connect with readers. Think about it. The traditional book tour used to mean flying to different cities, sitting in bookstores hoping people would show up. Today, podcasts have replaced that entire model. But here's the problem. Most authors are pitching all wrong. Let me put this in perspective. There are over 5 million active podcasts worldwide right now. 5 million shows actively looking for interesting guests with compelling stories to tell. That's millions of opportunities for authors to reach engaged, targeted audiences. These aren't casual scrollers on social media. These are people who choose to spend 30 to 60 minutes actively listening to long-form conversations, and the results can be absolutely remarkable. I want to share a real example with you. One author we worked with landed a single podcast interview. Just one appearance on a show that aligned perfectly with her book's audience. Within 30 days of that episode going live, she tracked $10,000 in book sales directly attributable to that single conversation. $10,000 from 1 hour of her time. So how do successful authors approach this opportunity differently? It comes down to research and target identification. Finding the right podcast is 80% of the battle. Not the biggest podcasts, not the most famous hosts. The right podcasts where your ideal readers are already listening. That's what we're going to break down in detail. Here's the stat that changes everything about podcast pitching. Generic pitch emails get about a 5% response rate. Personalized pitches that demonstrate actual research get over 40%. That's not a minor improvement. That's the difference between sending 50 pitches to get 2 interviews versus sending 15 pitches to get 6 interviews. Successful authors approach pitch development like they're pitching a book proposal, not sending a mass email. They listen to at least 3 recent episodes of each target podcast before reaching out. They identify specific moments where their expertise would have added value to past conversations. They reference the host's interview style or recent guest topics in the opening line. The pitch itself focuses entirely on what the author can deliver for that specific audience, not on the book's sales achievements or publishing credentials. It answers one question clearly. Why would this podcast's existing listeners care about this conversation? The authors who get booked consistently include 3 or 4 specific talking points or angles, showing the host exactly what the episode could cover without making them do the creative work. Now here's where professional presentation matters. When podcast hosts review potential guests, they're not just evaluating expertise. They're evaluating technical reliability and promotional commitment. The authors who get invited back, who get referred to other hosts, who build podcast tour momentum all invest in the same baseline setup, quality audio equipment and stable internet. This doesn't mean a $1,000 microphone setup. It means a decent USB microphone that costs about the same as dinner for 2, a quiet recording space, and a wired internet connection instead of Wi-Fi. Hosts can hear the difference, and more importantly, listeners can hear the difference. Poor audio quality doesn't just make one episode less enjoyable. It damages your credibility on the topic you're supposed to be expert in. The interview preparation that actually works isn't scripting answers or memorizing talking points. It's developing 3 to 5 core insights that you can explain through different stories depending on the conversation flow. Professional podcast guests prepare examples, case studies, and concrete scenarios that illustrate abstract concepts. They practice speaking in natural conversation rhythms, not presentation mode. The goal is to sound like you're explaining something fascinating to a friend, because that's exactly what podcast listeners are looking for. The interview itself is just the beginning of the actual marketing opportunity. The data on podcast ROI shows something counterintuitive. Authors who promote their appearance before the episode airs during the release and after publication get nearly triple the book sales of those who just show up and hope for the best. Here's what that promotion timeline looks like in practice. Before the episode airs, successful authors tease the conversation on their own platforms. They share behind-the-scenes preparation content, explain why they chose this particular podcast, and prime their existing audience to listen. When the episode goes live, they don't just share the link once. They pull quotable moments, create short video clips if it's a video podcast, and tag the host in every promotional post to maximize cross-pollination between audiences. But the after-publication phase is where most authors completely miss the opportunity. Podcast episodes have incredibly long shelf lives. Unlike social media posts that disappear in hours or email campaigns that get deleted in seconds, podcast episodes stay in feeds and search results for years. Authors who understand this create evergreen resources that connect to specific episodes, update their website to feature podcast appearances prominently, and use interview content as the foundation for blog posts, newsletter topics, and social media content for months afterward. This is exactly where smart authors use professional tools to stay current without constant manual updates. When you're mentioned on a podcast, you want to send listeners to your most relevant offer right now, not whatever was current when the episode was recorded 6 months ago. Professional podcast guests use dynamic QR codes in their media kits. The host can display or mention it during the interview, and that same code updates automatically as your promotional priorities shift. Same code in the show notes permanently, different landing page whenever you need it. The long-term strategy that separates one-time guests from authors who build podcast momentum is systems thinking. Instead of pitching podcasts randomly when you remember to do it, successful authors block time monthly for research and outreach. They track which pitches got responses and which didn't, refining their approach based on actual data. They nurture relationships with hosts even when they're not actively promoting something, because podcast hosts talk to each other and referrals are worth 10 times more than cold pitches. The pattern the data reveals is clear. Authors who treat podcast guesting as a sustainable marketing channel, not a one-time promotional tactic, build compound returns. Each interview expands your network, improves your interview skills, and creates evergreen content that continues driving sales long after the recording session ends. The opportunity in podcast guesting isn't that it's easier than other marketing channels. It's that it rewards strategic thinking and relationship building in ways that paid advertising never will. Here's what to do next. Start building your target podcast list this week. 20 to 30 shows maximum, prioritizing audience overlap over audience size. Listen to 3 episodes of your top 5 targets and draft one genuinely personalized pitch. Then invest in baseline audio quality, because professional sound is professional credibility. If you found this analysis helpful, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. We put out new content every week analyzing what actually works in publishing. Drop a comment below. What's been your biggest challenge with podcast guesting? Or what's the best result you've seen from a single interview? And if you're serious about building a professional podcast presence, check out Mins. The authors who get booked consistently use dynamic QR codes in their media kits, so hosts can share one code that always points to their current offer, no matter when the episode was recorded. It's the difference between promotional materials that expire and tools that compound value over time. Free trial link is in the description. Your voice and expertise deserve to reach the readers who are already listening. Make it easy for them to find you.